Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1504A, and today's date is February 21st, 2018, and the title of the episode is, As the Old Economic System Breaks Down, a New One is Born from the Ashes. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Now, we know the central bankers, they're very worried about the crypto market, and we've been talking about it with the Biz, the IMF, the New York Fed, the two economists, Christine Lagarde, where they're all out there telling us, cryptocurrencies is used by terrorists, it's used by criminals, it's very volatile, it's backed by nothing, and they keep making all these different arguments to steer everyone away from cryptocurrencies. We can see right now that they're trying to make the case that you don't want to get into cryptocurrencies because the exchanges, they're not secure. Just like the SWIFT system, that is just so secure. The banking system, just so secure. The whole entire Federal Reserve, which has been hacked, which is so secure. They're continually doing this, and they're pushing their agenda. I mean, back in about a month ago, Japan, they had a cyber attack, and over 400 million worth of NEM coins was stolen from the Tokyo-based CoinCheck exchange. And remember, these are links that link up to the blockchain where people keep their accounts. They keep wallets on these exchanges. I think it's better to have an offline wallet than keeping your cryptocurrency on an online wallet. I think it's a little bit safer, and it's a little bit harder for people to access. But what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a lot of these different glitches that are occurring. And it looks like there was another glitch where traders were able to purchase about 20 trillion in Bitcoin for free. It lasted about 18 minutes. They tried to cash in on it. And again, nothing really happened here. But what they're trying to do is they're trying to build this case that cryptocurrencies, these exchanges, they're not secure. And you can see there's so many problems with it. But again, if you look at the everyday banking system and you look at all the systems around the world, anything electronic is not going to be 100% secure. It's completely impossible, especially when the CIA is building backdoors into all the computer chips where they have access to all these different systems. Now, we know that Russia and China and many other countries, they're building their own computer systems to be separate and apart from what the CIA has been doing. But we can see right now they're building their propaganda to make you think that the crypto market is not a safe place to be and you need to be someplace else. And they're continually pushing this agenda. Now, what we're seeing right now there are many countries that are looking at cryptocurrencies to use as their currency for their country or to sell oil in some type of crypto coin. And we're starting to see countries starting to produce these. We know that in Russia, they're in parliament right now, they're looking to push the Russian ruble coin. We know China probably is going to fold and look at the crypto market. South Korea right now, they're making individuals go to the bank to exchange or purchase any type of cryptocurrency because they want to know who is doing it. And of course, the only reason they're doing that is because the central bankers, they have control of the system and they want to keep track of who has what. Now, the ledger does keep track of all this, but it keeps your address and your name pretty much anonymous. And they don't like this. They don't like not knowing who's doing what. And we can see right now that they're continually pushing this agenda. Now, we're going to see a new system born out of the ashes of the old system. And it's already starting. It's almost like a phoenix, where the phoenix reaches a certain point in its lifespan where it starts to break down and it burns out, turns into ashes, and a new phoenix is born. This is what we're going to see happen here. Now, the new economic system that is born, is that going to be a central bank system, or is it going to be a cryptocurrency type of system outside of the banking system? And I'm being very optimistic that when all said and done, that the central bankers will lose this time, hopefully. And again, the central bankers, they play dirty. They don't like to lose. But what we do see happening here is that the economy is rapidly deteriorating. And I know a lot of people think that the economy is doing fine, everything looks great, and of course this is part of the illusion. I mean, everyone thought the economy was fantastic in 2008. until October hit, and all of a sudden everything started to fall apart. I mean, they were telling us that everything was great, everything was sustained, everything was fantastic. The subprime securities were AAA backed. Don't worry about it. Same thing's happening now, but it's much worse. People are so in the dark, they don't realize what is happening. Why do you think interest rates are at close or lower than 0% negative in certain parts of the world? It's because we're at the end of the system. Why do you think wages are falling? Why do you think manufacturing has been moved out of this country? Why do you think they were bringing in third world illegals into this country? I mean, there are many different agendas associated with it, but they thought, and this was going back when Obama was president, and they had the power there, and of course they still think they have the power, but they thought they were going to create a brand new economic system, and they were going to make all the countries on a level playing field, and everyone was going to get paid the same rate. Now, all the other countries were not going to come up to the level of the United States. The United States had to come down to the level of all the other countries. And this is the reason they were bringing in a lot of illegals. This is one of the reasons. There's many other reasons associated with this, elections, Obamacare, and other things. But we see right now, they knew the economy wasn't going to last. They knew eventually they were going to have to switch it over into something completely different. This is why they've been moving everything out to China, manufacturing. This is why China's been building up their gold reserves. This way it builds confidence in the system. This is why they started the petro-yuan. Their whole plan, and this is the central banker's plan, was to have the system out in the East. And then cryptocurrencies were born back in 2008. A lot of people didn't realize what it was, and they didn't know what it was, and it started to grow, and then people started to realize, wow, this is something amazing. And we can see right now we're at this point, but when we look at the economy, we see that it is falling apart. Existing home sales tumbled by 3.2% month on month. This is the lowest level since August of 2016. Now, year on year, home sales are down by 4.8%. Now, think about this. When we look at home sales, we have to wonder why we're seeing this up and down type of situation in home sales. And we have to understand why this is happening. Remember, hedge funds, investment companies, they were receiving free money from the Fed. They were instructed to purchase as many houses as possible. Banks were instructed to keep houses off the market to drive prices up. China was investing in the United States. Many other countries were investing in the United States. A lot of these investors have left, and China now is reversing, and they're taking their funds and investing in the One Belt, One Road. This is why Canada, their housing crisis is upon them. Australia is seeing the same thing. And we are seeing U.S. mortgage applications, well, they are tumbling right now. And it's getting worse as time goes on. Why? Well, the interest rates are slowly creeping up. And every time you have the interest rates move up, you see mortgage applications decline. You see sales in homes decline. This is a pattern that we've seen before. Now, the central banks, this is how they kick a lot of this off. What they do is they slowly move the interest rates up. Now, back prior to 2008, they were able to do this a lot faster because the economy was actually much stronger. Now, the whole thing is completely built on an illusion. It never got stronger. The housing market was propped up. The American everyday person is sitting on the sidelines. Retail is a disaster. GDP numbers are a disaster. The unemployment numbers are completely fake. So are the GDP numbers, by the way. And everything is starting to implode on itself. And what we're going to see happen here is it's going to get worse as time goes on. It's not going to improve. Actually, the Fed president is panicking over the level of U.S. debt, saying the U.S. may need to more actively consider policy actions that would moderate the path of projected U.S. government debt growth. He's saying that the government is responsible for the U.S. debt. Now, think about what they're saying right here. That the Fed had no problem during the Obama administration, which really completely doubled the debt in this country. Trump has been president now for a year or so, and the debt level went up $1 trillion compared to, 10 trillion So let's think about this for a second. Why are they so worried about this right now? Because if the system comes down without the central bank bringing it down, blaming it on someone else, and it comes down under this debt level, they're to blame. They don't want countries to implode on themselves. Look at Greece, look at Cyprus, look at France, look at all these countries. What the central bankers like to do is they like to keep it on an even playing field where they have a lot of debt, but they can still get by. They never want to crash a country because that would be too obvious of what they're trying to do, and everyone would point the finger at them and saying, hey, you just crashed this country. Why? So if they put them into debt, they push austerity on the government, saying you have to do these things. People lose their jobs. They take on more credit. They can keep this balance, this seesaw of making sure it doesn't tilt to one side, and they can continually add more and more and more debt to the country. And eventually what the country has to do is they have to sell off assets. That's their main goal. They want hard assets because they're creating currency out of thin air. They don't want the fake money, the fake currency. They want assets. And that's why they do this. And this is why the Fed is so worried right now. And we can see that other countries right now who are sanctioned, who are looking at the dollar, they're saying, you know something, we need to start moving away from this. We know that China, Russia, they've been doing this. We know that other countries are moving away. Iran, Syria, Iraq, they're all going to be moving away, joining up with Russia and China. 70 countries are on the One Belt, One Road. But we see Venezuela, they set out to develop the petro. And it looks like it's ready to go live. And we can see that for more than 2 months after Maduro announced that he's ready to create this new petro coin to allow other countries, corporations, to purchase their oil, not using the dollar or any other currency, their own. It looks like it's ready to go. It is backed by 5 billion barrels of oil that are still waiting to be pumped out of the local oil field, and the whole thing is a complete reality. Now, what they did is they didn't build this from scratch. The petro is built atop the Ethereum blockchain. Venezuela's petro team reportedly paid a visit to China, where People's Bank of China is supervising crypto trials of its own. Now, we also see that Maduro, his government, was successful in securing buyers. After a trip to Dubai, Maduro announced Tuesday that 40 million petros, out of an offering of about 100 million, had already been placed with institutional investors. And we can see right now there are other corporations, there are other countries that are looking to purchase. And we can see that he has separated himself from the dollar. So let's think about this for a second. Venezuela, which is heavily sanctioned, the United States, the deep state, wanted to invade Venezuela, created a cryptocurrency. And think about this, go back in time, when all the other countries were sanctioned, there was really no way to do anything because cryptocurrencies didn't exist. So cryptocurrencies now exist, and it allowed this country to create its own currency, have it sold to other investors around the world, attach it to oil, which bypasses the dollar completely. And the U.S. government, the deep state, can't do anything about it. I mean, yeah, they can attack the country and all that, but in regards to the petro, it is theirs. And it's on the blockchain. Now, other countries are going to look at this. And they're going to be watching Venezuela as time goes on. And if they are, which I do believe they will be very successful with this, and they'll start making sales, other countries are going to say, why don't we do the same exact thing? This is a template to allow other countries to do the same thing. Now think about this for a second. If Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Saudi Arabia, all these different countries that have oil, or maybe gold deposits and things like that. Look at this model and say, you know something? Let's follow it. Let's get rid of the dollar. Let's go onto the blockchain. Let's create our own and sell it and trade on the blockchain. This is a brand new economic system, separate and apart from the dollar. And the country the deep state was trying to put a lot of pressure on actually started the whole thing off. I mean, think about this for a second. Yes, there's a lot of coins out there, but this is one of the first countries that attach it to oil, and they're actually going to use this to bring in income to the country. And once other countries see this, it's not going to take that much time. It's going to happen very, very quickly because they're going to use the Ethereum blockchain. They're going to build on top of that. They're going to create their coin. And guess what? They're ready to go. It's not going to take 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It's going to take a couple of months. If these countries start to do this, which it's very easy to do, guess what? Within 6 to 8 months, you're going to see a lot of countries completely bypassing the dollar. They're on the cryptocurrency system, the blockchain system, which leads us back to the transition. The central bankers, they don't like the blockchain. They hate it. They can't control it. They want to control it, but I don't think they can unless they create their own coin and they force governments to pass a law to say you're only allowed to use this one. Yes, then they would have control. This is what they did with the currency, the paper currency. They had the government pass a law and say, you will use the Federal Reserve note. This is the only currency you can use. And then other countries followed suit, and they joined in with the central banking system. That's the only way they can do it. Otherwise, they have no control over this whatsoever. And we can see that this is the start of the transition. And we can see that the central bankers, they don't want this. And they will play dirty. And they will try to steer everyone away from it. They might even try to destroy it somehow, some way. But we can see right now, we're heading to a brand new system, separate and apart from the old system. And countries are going to jump on this bandwagon very, very quickly. And you're going to see announcements all over the place that countries are creating their own. It's outside of the system, and it has nothing to do with the dollar. And once countries start to ramp up on this, it's game over for the central bank. And we're going to be going through this transition because, again, this will affect the United States. Because the dollar, they're all going to float back to the United States. We're going to see inflation then. Then this really means that nobody needs the dollar anymore. Nobody needs to sell their oil in the petrodollar anymore. That means we're going to have to adjust. That means the transition is going to be into a new currency. That means that the value of the dollar is going to decrease rapidly. And cryptocurrencies are going to increase in value. Gold, silver is going to increase in value because gold and silver is really not attached to the dollar whatsoever. Yes, it's manipulated right now, but it's not, has nothing to do with the dollar really. And that will increase in value because there'll be no reason to manipulate it anymore because the dollar is destroyed. And we can see right now, this is something the central banks don't want. This is something the people want. So no matter what, we're going to be going through a transition. So you need to be prepared and ready because when the system breaks down, it's going to be a very difficult time because the dollar is going to lose value very, very quickly. Credit most likely is going to freeze up until we're on board onto the new system. And that might take a couple of months. It might take a year before everything is ironed out. I mean, look at when we came off the gold standard in 1971, when we had the oil shortages, a lot of jobs. No one could find jobs. I mean, people were having a very difficult time in the 70s. Yes, we saw incredible inflation at that time, People loved the CDs at that time, but that was coming off a system that was backed by gold, moving on to a system that was backed by pretty much nothing. And we didn't have that much debt. Now we're coming off a system where the dollar is devalued so much, and it's going to be devalued even more, where we have so much debt and people aren't making a living and there's 0% interest rates. Guess what? It's going to be a very difficult time. So get prepared, get ready. We're entering a brand new economic system. And everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.